Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff with Fluent American checking in. And I had a recent comment from a student talking about language choices, like the difference between absolute statements. So, for instance, like saying everyone or no one or like always, definitely, obviously, things like that. And these are word choices that, in general, can affect your score um, because they're statements that can be disproven a little bit easily. So, I want to go over some ways that you can hedge or tone down or adjust your language just to make it a little bit more accurate and precise, and also a little bit easier to defend in your writing. You don't want to give your reader, or if you're speaking, you don't want to give your listener opportunities to dispute what you're saying. You want to make sure that what you're saying is clear, accurate, but also precise. I've included a link to our Google document. You can see that in the chat box. You can also see this in the video details, so in the first links. Also, I encourage you to join our IELTS Facebook group where we have regular exercises you can do and get some quick feedback on from me. Again, my experience is based on being an IELTS examiner for 3 or 4 years. Um, Let's take a look at the actual document. So again, you can see the link in the chat box or in the details. I've just given a couple of quick examples so that way you can see what we're talking about exactly. So our first one here, everyone should see this movie. Everyone should see this movie. Everyone is a little bit too general of language. Um, the way I think of it is like this. There's like 7 billion people on the earth. If there's even one person that should not see this movie, then your statement automatically is wrong. And there's a good chance there's at least one person that should not. So instead of using words like everyone or everybody, I've included a couple quick suggestions. So, for instance, you could say, like, it's a highly recommended movie. You could say things like many people would enjoy this movie, or even just describing the movie in general, like the movie is worth seeing. Okay, so these are some options where instead of saying everyone, these are some alternatives that I think would be a little bit more accurate, give you a slightly better word choice. Our second one, obviously, changes had to be made. The word obviously can be problematic because it is somewhat subjective. Something that is obvious to you may not be obvious to someone else, or something that another example would be like clearly or definitely. Like things that are clear or definite to you may not be it may not be true for other people. So, some slightly more accurate word choices. Instead of saying obviously changes had to be made, you could say something. It became clear to the organization. So now I'm qualifying it. I'm saying to the organization. It's not clear to everybody. It's just clear to the people in the organization that they wanted to make a change. Um, or you could just use a more objective statement. The organization decided changes had to be made. Like there's no real opinion involved in that. It's just they decided to do it. Another quick example is our next sentence. So, like, no one likes that ride. No one likes that ride. Um, no one, again, kind of similar to like everyone or everybody, in that it's a little bit too absolute. So, some alternatives you could say for that, you could say things like most people. It's like most people don't like that ride. Or you could say few people. Few people don't like that ride. Or few people like that ride. Excuse me. Lastly, so we have this: people always prefer going to bed late. Instead of using always, again, maybe a little bit too strong, here are some quick suggestions. You could say people tend to prefer going to bed late. People usually prefer going to bed late. People often prefer going to bed late. Okay, so again, these are just some alternatives to staying away from that always or like never or things like that. Okay. So this is just a real quick video, some quick suggestions on your writing, especially if you're preparing for IELTS Task 2. You want to be really paying attention to these types of word choices. This is a quick way to lower things like your vocabulary score because it's a little bit inappropriate, or even, for instance, task achievement because the tone might not be quite appropriate. Okay. I see Einstein saying hi. What's up? If you have specific questions for me, be sure to post them in the chat box, leave a comment. I do have to teach soon, but I'll hang on here just for another minute or two in case anyone has any questions they want to ask. Otherwise, be sure to take a look at the comment box or take a look at the document, which you're going to see links for. Also, again, join our Facebook group if you want to actually practice this a little bit. Feel free to join our Facebook group. We have regular exercises. Try to post one at least every other day, if not every day. Um, yeah. And again, Einstein, if you have any specific questions, feel free to let me know. Yeah. And again, this tone stuff is definitely something I've seen in a lot of students writing. So it definitely is a very valid issue. The question related to tone is also very important, especially for like task one letters. You want to be paying attention to that formal versus informal tone, which we'll be discussing in future content in future videos. Yeah. All right, guys, I do have to get ready for the class. But yeah, if you have future comments or things like that, just leave a comment on the video or send me a message on Facebook. Thank you guys for your time. Take care. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Thanks for watching. Take care.